Bjorn, thank you for taking some time out to talk with me about a project that's kind of older again. Can you just walk me through some of the challenges that you might have had with the audio in reverse Uno? So what I'm gonna so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some audio. We're just gonna slap some audio in there and just show how bad it was. And if you wouldn't mind gracing me with some knowledge about how you fixed it.
Hey, can I grab that for you?
Yes, thanks.
Perfect. Would you like a look at our dessert menu today?
No, just the bill's great.
Perfect. Grab it for you right away.
So basically, this was a little while ago, so it's not all that fresh in my memory. But I'm looking over the session file right now, and I recall when we were when I was editing this, there's obviously a lot of ancillary background noise because you're in a cafe, and it's kind of a troublesome equilibrium that you have to find because obviously if you remove all that sound, not only is it going to sound hollow, it's not going to sound real because, obviously there's noises going on in cafes. So one of the issues I remember was just like making sure the audio was, fairly normalized, that these like little spikes from, plates clattering or cutlery being moved around in the background wasn't, the loudest sound in the mix, but also we didn't want it completely silenced. And all those ancillary sounds, can make doing any sort of noise reduction on, fan noises or drafts, like those types of sounds are harder to remove when you've got all these other stuff going on too. So one of the things I did was lower those noisy sounds, the fans or the draft, lower those sounds as much as I could without compromising any of the actual quality of what people are saying, but then also copying some of that noise and then kind of slotting it in where it would suddenly cut out, just so there wouldn't be any sort of blank space in the audio where you would, hear a bit of background noise and then it would cut out and then it would be back up again. I had to sort of move that stuff around so you at least had a sort of a constant ambience.
So removing the sound, so you were able to theoretically remove the HVAC sound, that fan that was playing throughout the entire piece, and
yeah.
By doing that, you say, or you've mentioned, it would cause a very tinny reverb on the sound.
Yeah, because it's being picked up on the mics that are recording their voice, and a lot of those there's a bit of a frequency overlap often when you're recording vocals with and there's background noise that if you remove some of that background noise, it's nearly impossible to not cut out some of the I don't know what the technical term would be, but sort of the depth of the vocals.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say vocals, but thinking musically, the voices.
Yeah. So then if you can remember, or if you could briefly walk me through, how would you step it back or make it work so that the audio could maybe be gently massaged to work? So you have the HVAC, and then you said you removed the HVAC, so now we're at a point where it sounds tinny and hollow, but it's removed that sound. Now, how do you go about working it to make it fit in the world? Like if that was all that you had.
Yeah, well, it's not even, in a sense, I'm not really removing the sound. It's just I'm quiet. I'm looking. So in Adobe Audition, you have your waveforms and you can look at an audio file. And Adobe Audition has this nice little feature where you can go into a spectral analyzer view and you can see the different amplitudes for the different frequencies in an audio file. So that HVAC will obviously be concentrated in certain frequency bands. So I just tried to lower those frequency bands, and if those happen to lower some of the frequencies in the vocals, then I would try and lower those a little less, and then I would try and boost places where the vocals weren't interfering with the HVAC, and I'm just trying to it's not even a complete removal. It's more like I don't know what a good analogy would be, but smoothing things out so it isn't so stark of a difference.
Yep. Now, I've dabbled with Audition briefly in the past, And my favorite thing to do is always you find a sample of like 5 seconds or something of like complete silence, and you get the noise floor, and then you remove the noise floor. What would be, let's say, would that be similar as removing the HVAC to get so that tinny sound would come in?
Yeah, well, what I would be careful of, because I did do a bit of that, but the problem is if you say like the normal way to do that would be to listen to the audio file and then find a point where there's only the HVAC playing and there's no vocals, and you say, okay, that's my noise floor. If you do that, you're still going to end up with a lot of tinniness depending on how much noise removal you actually do. But what I did is, instead of just grabbing that little bit of audio when there's no talking, is I went into that spectral analyzer and then just went into that bit where there's no talking, and then just looking at the spectral analyzer, which, you know, gives you sort of like a different band of colors depending on how hot in the mix which frequencies are, and then just grabbing like a little bit of that rather than the whole bit of audio as the noise floor, just grabbing like that noise floor from just like 5K hertz to 1K rather than going all the way up to like 18K, which would be like the full spectrum of sound. So just like, yeah, when you do that noise removal, you don't want to be removing noise throughout all the frequencies, because that's when you get the tinniness and all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, as you said, then so you gently massage the sound kind of back in a bit to give it that, so that it's not creating a hollow on the voice, and that it's removing most of, let's say, the overpowering fan noise.
Yeah,
and then,
it's kind of like chipping away at like a statue, you know, and like a marble block and making a statue, you know?
Yep.
You're not just slicing things into pieces. You're sort of chipping away at it slowly. It can be an arduous process, but it's worth it.
Yep. So other than turning the fan off, which wasn't gonna happen in the moment when we were shooting it, if we had to do that situation again, is there anything that you might have words of wisdom wise to help make the experience less painful for you?
Yeah, like it's tough in hindsight, but I guess there needs to be, or there doesn't need to be, but it probably helps for there to be communication beforehand with your sound mixers or your sound editors before you film or before you record the audio, just so they can maybe give you an insight as to what they need, you know, going into the project. Like, I think with that reverse Uno audio, if we had like another microphone that just recorded everything, like just somewhere in the restaurant that was just recording all the audio, and then I just had that in addition, just like this raw recording, I might be able to have a bit more flexibility in terms of removing some of that HVAC noise without creating any tinniness, because we'd have like an additional set of audio there.
Yeah, or of course hiring someone who actually is an audio person and not just not just someone in the moment to be like, here's a mic, here's the boom pole.
It's expensive, you know.
Even I heard it, and in the moment, you know, you're just like, oh, because being a video guy, looking at audio is like an alien language to me, and it's legitimately like I'll hear something and be like, oh, I'm sure you can fix that, like,
Yeah.
because it was like a constant hum, so we're like, oh, you can totally fix that in post.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff you can fix, you know, in post, but it definitely helps, you know, if you have more options with like the audio that's available to you. So, you know, record on the boom mics and whatever you're using, but then also maybe have like a little portable recorder, like a Zoom, you know, just recording everything, and that would be, you know, a great thing to have for someone that's looking at the audio in post, because then they can, you know, have sort of this unadulterated look at all the background noises that are going on.
Yeah, so you're suggesting almost have a secondary source that just records everything, and then have that as basically a floor print to understand the universe of like where the sound's coming from.
That's right, exactly.
Huh. Interesting. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, any other things you wanted to mention about that one? I know, again, we've said it before, it's so long ago.
Yeah, well, yeah, it has been a while. I don't know, maybe for a project like that, like, I know it can be cumbersome, but getting some of the actors to overdub some of their lines that might have had a lot of noise in them before.
Yes, yes. I don't think that would have been a problem to get them back. I think it was more or less of it was just so long, like from shooting and then to editing and then getting into all those processes that I personally cared more about just getting it out there than trying
Right.
to make it the best thing it could ever possibly be. Yeah, but that's it's part of the journey. Thank you so much, Bjorn. I appreciate your time on this and
No problem.
remembering what you could and shedding some light on some help.
No problem.
Thank you.